How each zodiac finds closure. Check timestamps for your sign. Aries. Closure is complicated for you, Aries. Not because you don't want it, but because you often think you don't need it. You're used to being the one who makes the call, sets the boundary, or walks away. But later, doubt creeps in. Did you end things too fast? Did your pride lead instead of your heart? You replay your decisions, not out of regret, but from that nagging feeling that maybe you could have waited or talked it through. But here's where closure begins. Not in undoing the past, but in accepting it. Even if you acted impulsively, you did what you believed was right in the moment. Let go of the idea that you need to feel 100% confident about everything. You're human, not a machine. Peace comes when you stop looking back for perfection. Taurus. Change is not your strong suit, Taurus. When someone you loved becomes a memory or a relationship shifts beyond your control, it feels like part of your foundation is cracking. You cling to the past, not because you're weak, but because you felt safe there. Closure comes for you not through answers, but through acceptance. You find peace when you stop resisting the transformation happening inside you. It's not easy, but it's powerful. Reinvention doesn't mean forgetting what mattered. It means letting it evolve. Start by creating a new routine, trying something unfamiliar, or making space for people who meet your present, not your past. As you reshape your world, piece by piece, you'll look up and realize you're not just healing, you're growing. And that's when closure arrives quietly, but fully. Gemini. For you, Gemini, closure must be spoken. You live for clarity, for language, for final conversations that tie it all up with a bow, even if that bow is made from tangled threads. You're haunted by unsaid things, so walking away in silence rarely works for you. You need to ask the questions, say the hard truths, and hear what the other person has to say. Even if it's messy, even if it hurts, that's your process. And while not everyone will be open to post-breakup conversations or emotional debriefs, it doesn't mean you can't still find peace. Write it out, speak to a friend, even talk to yourself. The key is honesty. Closure comes when your mind stops running laps around what-ifs, not because you forgot, but because you finally gave yourself permission to understand and move forward. Cancer. Closure for you, Cancer, isn't just about what happened. It's about how deeply it felt. You hold on to pain like a bookmark in your emotional story, afraid that letting go means forgetting the lesson. But the truth is, closure doesn't mean erasing the hurt. It means understanding where it lives inside you and why. To move forward, you need to dive beneath the surface of your heartbreak. What are you really grieving? The loss of a person or the version of you that existed with them? Give yourself space to feel it all. Cry, write, talk, heal, and don't rush it. Closure comes when you stop blaming yourself for feeling deeply. Your emotions aren't your enemy, they're your compass. Trust them to guide you through. Leo. For Leo, closure rarely comes from a dramatic final act. No long speeches, no thunderous applause. What you actually need is time. Time to step far enough away from the pain that it no longer defines you. You may try to distract yourself with work, hobbies, even new connections. But that ache lingers until enough distance has passed. Still, there are things you can do while you wait. Stop stalking the past online. Stop revisiting memories that hurt. Start focusing on things that light you up again. Passions that remind you who you are without the person or situation you've lost. Eventually, the pain becomes a story, not your identity. And in that quiet realization that you survived, grew, and moved on, you'll find closure. Not with fireworks, but with peace. Virgo. Closure for you, Virgo, isn't emotional. It's analytical. You replay situations in your mind like puzzles, trying to figure out where everything went wrong and how it could have been prevented. You don't move on until you've dissected every angle, examined every misstep, including your own. You crave understanding because it makes pain feel less senseless. But sometimes, you won't get the answers you want. People don't always explain themselves. Circumstances don't always make sense. When that happens, you have to create your own closure by choosing acceptance over analysis. The future can't unfold if you're still editing the past. Trust that the lessons are there, even if you never get the full story. Your peace isn't found in perfect conclusions, Virgo. It's found in your ability to let go and trust that what's ahead is worth more than what's behind. Libra. You avoid discomfort like the plague, Libra, especially emotional discomfort. You'd rather smooth things over, stay busy, or focus on love and beauty than sit with something messy. But closure doesn't come from avoidance. It comes from facing what happened. You struggle to reflect because deep down you fear what you'll find. Regret, guilt, hurt you didn't allow yourself to feel. But pushing it away doesn't make it disappear. It just buries it deeper. True closure only comes when you give yourself permission to acknowledge the pain. Journal, cry, talk it out. Whatever gets you honest with yourself. The healing begins when you stop pretending everything's fine and finally admit that it's not. From that moment forward, you can process and release what's been sitting beneath the surface for far too long. Scorpio. Scorpio, you're a master of emotional depth, but when it comes to your own pain, you retreat into isolation. You think if you can just figure it out alone, you'll emerge stronger. But in truth, silence can turn to self-destruction. You replay old wounds, letting them fester rather than heal. And even though you often know what's wrong, you struggle to speak it. Closure comes when you stop treating vulnerability like a threat. Find someone safe, someone you trust, and talk. Let them in. Their perspective won't erase the pain, but it will soften it. You're not weak for needing help. You're human. When you share your burden instead of carrying it like armor, you make space for closure. And in that space, transformation can finally happen. Sagittarius. You'd rather keep moving than stop and feel, Sagittarius. You try to outrun your pain, convincing yourself that adventure, distraction, or just one more change will lead to healing. But closure doesn't come from running. It comes from stillness. You tend to hold on longer than you should, hoping things will reset on their own. But the past can't be recreated, no matter how badly you want to rewind. You'll find peace when you fully accept that it's over, not just intellectually, but emotionally. Take time to detox, delete the messages, avoid the one last talk. Let the silence settle in, uncomfortable as it may be. That's when clarity arrives. Closure for you is about choosing the future over nostalgia, and recognizing that freedom isn't found in the past, but in releasing it. Capricorn. You like to keep your emotions organized, tucked away in boxes, scheduled for later. But closure doesn't follow a calendar. You think if you just keep going, stay productive, and avoid the mess, the feelings will disappear. They won't. You may cry in secret, vent only when it's appropriate, or pretend you're unaffected, but that emotional repression will cost you more than time. To truly move on, you have to feel the things you've worked so hard to ignore. Let yourself break down. Let yourself rest. Closure doesn't mean weakness. It means release. You don't have to do it all perfectly. You don't need a 5-step plan for healing. You just need honesty with yourself and the courage to sit with the mess long enough to let it pass. Aquarius, you pride yourself on staying cool and detached, especially in emotional situations. But closure doesn't work that way. You can't outthink your feelings or logic your way into healing. When you try to suppress what hurts, it builds behind the scenes. You may not notice it until you're overreacting, disconnecting, or falling into old thought spirals. You don't need to make a grand emotional display. Just acknowledge the pain instead of avoiding it. Get out of your head and into your body. Journal, talk, walk, create. Let your feelings move through you, not around you. When you stop fighting the process and allow space for discomfort, healing sneaks in quietly. Closure isn't a concept to solve, it's a feeling to live through. Let it happen, even if it doesn't make perfect sense. Pisces. You're the emotional sponge of the Zodiac, Pisces. Which means closure is hard for you because you don't just carry your emotions. You carry everyone else's too. You often avoid setting boundaries, hoping time will sort things out. But ignoring what hurt you doesn't erase the wound. It deepens it. You need to start by being honest with yourself. What did you need that you didn't get? What did you ignore for the sake of peace? Instead of drifting in nostalgia or fantasy, anchor yourself in the present. Focus on your healing, your growth, your peace. Closure doesn't come from others explaining themselves. It comes from you choosing to stop looking backward. Once you reclaim your energy, your heart has space to finally rest. Let go, not for them, but for yourself. Thank you for watching the video and let us know your thoughts in comments box below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to get all the updates.